Well, today my wife is working in the guard shack, and I'm telling her that, like, you know what? When we become empty nesters, one day we could actually totally move into a space like this big. Like I could actually like, it's like a fraction of a container is what that thing is. It's like a quarter of a container, if that. You know, one of those shipping containers that they turned into a guard shack. So it would be cheap to like cool. See, there's an air conditioner in there, and it's got a refrigerator and a microwave. And with a few modifications, you know, you could put like a cooktop in there and a couple of cabinets for, you know, dishes and food, dry food or whatever, and you know, another cabinet like for folded clothes and stuff, you know, if it's just me and her, and then room for like a double wide reclining love seat, so like it fold up into like, you know, like a regular love seat, but you know, when you want to go and sleep, you could recline it and it doubles as a bed. Really, I mean, think about it. What more do you really need? When you have a house, the bigger the house, the more surface there is to clean, right? The more floor space, square footage there is to vacuum and sweep. You know, for the bathroom, you know, obviously there's an outhouse, one of those plastic porta potties, and you could have a barbecue grill outside. Perfect. No property taxes, no lawn to cut. I'm just thinking of like poverty solutions. Look at the money that could be saved. Just think about that. Just like the money on like maintaining a dwelling. You know, the cost of like replacing a roof on a house is like, depending on the size of the house, $15,000-$20,000. You know, and the way a lot of the houses are built outside of the city, they're made out of you know, like vinyl siding, cheap plastic siding that like fades and warps. Needs to be replaced after, I don't know, 15, 20 years. At the cost of like 20 grand right there. Plumbing issues, electrical issues, carpeting, painting, all those home maintenance things that cost, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars. All that money that could be saved. Or, if you're not going to be saving the money, all that labor that you don't have to put out in life. So you look at it, you know, two ways. If you're poor, you don't have to like bust your ass. Unfortunately, when you have like a grouping of, you know, like many of houses like that where everybody has a low income, well, oftentimes you get drug users, thieves, and stuff like that. So tiny home communities will probably never really take off, because that also screws with the tax system, because the tax system, at least in my area, is based on supporting the local schools and stuff like that. And the way it's factored is by the square footage of the property, and then they calculate the value of the property, and then they arrive at a certain number to tax that property at. Like I think there's a minimum square footage of, I think, 800 square feet that a dwelling must be. Well, we could all dream, right? For me, that would be perfect. You know, one day when there's no kids in the house anymore and it's just me and the wife. Less is more. Think about it. More life, more living. It's like that. It's like I'm taking the reverse and opposite approach to the American dream is to own a home. Well, it is actually kind of. I mean, the drawback to, like, if you lived in something like this, it's not an appreciating asset, all right? It's not going up in value. Normally, I mean, it could. So it's not something you could, like, borrow against, like an equity loan. Go to the bank and go, hey, my home is worth $400,000. Can I get an equity line of credit? So, you know, with that, you can go and buy all kinds of garbage. You can buy vacations. You can buy cars. You can pay off other loans, credit cards, and stuff like that. Putting you, you know, back in debt, which is actually foolish. I mean, unless you're using that maybe to start a business or something like that, and it's a pretty for sure thing that the business is actually going to fly. Although a lot of people do stuff like that, they get a home equity line of credit, they borrow against their house to get a business launched and off the ground, and then the business fails, and now we have more debt. What's life without taking chances, right? Which are fine if you have, I don't know, if you figure that if it fails, you can make it work. There's one way of thinking is like being super careful, and then there's other way of thinking like, you know, bet and put it all on black. Here comes a truck. Yeah. Guess they're staying. I thought they're gonna leave. Hey, do you guys like these kind of videos? I can make more of them. I'm just sharing with you one of my goofy dreams. Living in a shack. Actually, this has a lot of drawbacks too. You know, like living in a mobile home or a motor home, actually, is in a lot of ways that's actually better than living in something like that. Except the motorhome requires registration and insurance and stuff like that. It's a vehicle and blah, 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 blah. Where this is just a tin building. Actually, a portion of a shipping container that somebody modified. They, like, cut it in sections, and then they made, like, they made a guard shack out of it, and they closed off one side, and they put a door on it. Put some windows on it. Wired it for electricity. Just think about it, though. All the money you could actually save. And then you could actually pursue your dream. You could save up enough money to actually buy a house. Pretty much outright, without getting a loan. Without involving a bank. Without driving yourself into more debt. Because when you buy a house, 1/3 of the money goes for the actual house, and then 2/3 of the cost go to pay the bank. So it's like, by the time you paid that mortgage off in 30 years, you actually paid for 3 houses. The one you live in, and you also bought the banker's daughter 2 other houses. So it's the bank that actually wins. 3 times the cost. Let's just think about that. You get one house and then you're paying for somebody to have 2 other houses that you will never live in. Is that fair? I don't know what the heck is she doing. Oh, she's plugging in the phone charger. Alright, I'm gonna honk. I'm gonna leave her here.
Join AMAC.us where it stands in solidarity with me and over 2 million teachers by joining AMAC today.
Bye bye.